Hello, hello. This is Rock It Out with Kim D. Hi. Oh, let's just wait a second. I don't know who all is going to show up. I'm a little late from my 3 o'clock, but that's partly because I was playing around trying to figure all this out. I had set it up on my mobile, not knowing that I would have to use the mobile for the live. So I had to try and come and get everything set up here to use the computer instead of my mobile. It's all working out good. Tried to get my Restream up, couldn't get it up. Um, Same thing with StreamYard. I had all these little blips happening, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Gonna kind of work out the blips as I go along. So let's see. I am 59 years old and I currently live in Hibbing, Minnesota. I was born in Clinton, Iowa, but I never lived there. I lived across the river in Fulton, Illinois, but Clinton was the closest hospital, so there you have it. One of the reasons I'm doing all of this is because I was raised Mormon since I was about 2.5 years old, after my father and mother got divorced, and they both remarried, and my dad met an amazing woman and converted and married her, and then had a whole bunch of kids. So I'm an oldest but only, and I have two families, but none of my siblings do. So it's been an interesting life when you have one family that's heathen and drinks coffee and smokes and drinks and does all kinds of other stuff. And then I have my Mormon family. It's been an adventure. In 2020, I had spent about 7 years where I binge watched Grey's Anatomy. And in 2020, COVID happened. 2020, George Floyd happened. There were different things that happened that really changed a lot of my viewpoints and forced me into a different kind of thought process. So here I am. There's a young man called Andrew Mercado Media in Minneapolis. And he just one day decided to go take his phone and walk with the protesters and just be an unbiased point of view. We saw the porta potty fires. We saw everything. He recently said, if I do a documentary, if I put everything together, would you watch it? And it's like, oh yeah, yes. It was my first time of being part of a bigger part of chat rooms and things like that. It was all on Facebook. I didn't know that he also had everything go to YouTube. I didn't know YouTube was anything more than just videos that you can learn to make things. I didn't know what YouTube really was. So anyways, I'm watching all his videos all during the riots and everything. Along the way, he started going to other places, doing kind of more journalistic things. But because Facebook was having issues and we weren't getting good signals and whatnot, but YouTube was being solid, I started watching his channel on YouTube. And Mercado Media is like my beginning entry place into a world I never knew existed. It started to be where I'd get my news, live streamers, and alternate ways of learning about the world around me. It was interesting. He has a special spot in my special, and he went to Ukraine. He did fundraising and different things through all of his social media, and he went over there and reported on it. And at the beginning, he did a lot of his own reactionary videos and things like that, uh, tapping into CCTV lines, being able to see firsthand what was going on there, and him and other people helping me along the way learn about a world bigger than the Mormon church, bigger than what I ever dreamed the world really is. So there you go. That was my beginning into YouTube. So then I discovered YouTube movies. Oh, yay. We got YouTube movies. That was awesome. Everything, old movies, new movies, all the kind of stuff I just love to watch. And it was great. So here we go. This is 2020 still. Still binge watching a little Netflix, slowly getting into YouTube movies, and like I said, all the different, not yet content creators, content creators, but I didn't really know what that meant. I was watching the Aftermath Scientology series on Netflix. Fascinated by it because there were so many connections with things I'd been taught that I had no understanding as to why. All of that came later. Season 1, heartbreaking. Learning and Liz Gale, Aaron, the different things along the way, Mark and Claire and Mike Rinder, and there's so many people. Second season came, and I was really made aware of atrocities, actual, just heartbreaking atrocities. The things that Serge and others would talk about now, clearly how children don't have consent, and the things that, it just makes your heart stop. Season 3 comes along, episode 101. They did with the Jehovah's Witnesses. They had gotten a lot of requests and people saying, hey, Scientology is no different than JW's. So they're like, let's get it together and learn more about them. That episode, I have a reactionary video to that I will put up pretty soon. That particular episode was the breaking thing where I realized I was raised in a cult and didn't know it. The stories they said, the connections that were made in my brain at that point. I was allowed to play with the Jehovah's Witnesses that were homeschooled 2 houses down. They had some friends at their Kingdom Hall that went to my school, and I never met them, but I knew who they were. So I would stay behind during parties and sit with them to get to know them, because I thought it was just sad. And so it wasn't altruistic. I was just a kid who said, hey, I think, I'd rather sit with them. I wasn't allowed to have friends that were outside of the church. So I'm the kid that didn't talk to anybody, read my Bible, just left-handed, short little girl. Didn't talk. That was the big thing. I never talked. It was too much to figure out how to make friends, how to fit into the world. But back to the aftermath. As that episode continued, more and more just things made huge connections in my brain, which leads to, I was diagnosed bipolar in the 90s. I'm not bipolar, ADHD. Misdiagnosis isn't the correct word. We didn't have the technology, the testing. We didn't have the information yet that would have changed the direction of my life. This was the beginning of fitting in all the pieces of decades of therapies, of drugs, medications that I never needed. I have a deep indoctrination, and I truly believed in the Mormon church. I believed wholeheartedly my guilt and shames and problems during my inactivity and during dealing with the things I did when I wasn't active were the cognitive dissonance and all of the things I never had a word for. That the aftermath and then the journey into YouTube that leads me to today, that's what kind of changed. I first started with the JW channels, Altworldly, Lloyd Evans, connecting with that, and later moved into John DeLynn, Mormon Stories. That I started watching his lives and then went back to the very beginning of his information, which is 20 plus years of videos. And in my spare time, I would just on audio, I would be listening and absorbing all of it, changing step by step, all of these thoughts constantly in my head, colliding against each other between the false world that I thought was real and entering into a real world that at that time was having COVID. So it was the real world, but it changed once again to where we are now. All right, so here I am. I'm watching all of these. Cara Burrell, Nuance Ho, Ex-Molex. She was one of my first content for the ex-Mormon community. And then through Patreon, I have a $500 annual budget for what I spend on YouTube and memberships. And so I found through Patreon, it was an easier way. And when more of my favorites got monetized in memberships, I was able to back off on my Snapchat or my chats, super chats. That's the word. We all know, the ones that know me within my communities know that, yeah, I was really big on trying to communicate and trying to make those connections. When I discovered growing up in Scientology, about the same time I kind of discovered growing up in polygamy, it was one more piece of the puzzle to help me see people, how they interact, how they deal with their wounds and their traumas and their everything, because I was at a jumping off point. Little by little, I became more active within the communities. And then I decided I wanted to tell my story. That's all I wanted to do. Andrew Gold at that period of time was looking for different people and different stuff. A lot of Scientology content creators were just starting being interviewed by him. Apostate Alex, others. Because of the increase in algorithms, Kelly Copter's videos that really hadn't had much play in over a year, all of us started just being on everybody's radar, and then she started doing more within it. Her videos were the ones where my father, in his religious search, found Scientology as a teen, young adult. The first TRs and the bull baiting and all of those first 3 to 4 TRs that discovering all Scientologists have to do. This is just a constant thing. And here, these were the things she's talking about, how they were done as a child. And she would go, this is what was done. For me, they were games played. I can stare and I can there's so many skills I learned from those TRs not knowing what they were. And now I can see how creepy and damaging and how it just set up so many other things for me personally. But her videos were able to fill that void and make those connections with something that I had no idea how it ever got into my head. Oh, then everything slow and steady down the road. Mike Rinder started not doing just podcasts, but doing the video. And I remember when he first started, he was so uneasy about it. He was so uncomfortable. He really had fun with different things, but it definitely was not something that he was into. It wasn't something, he had a different vision. I think he'd like the podcast that hip and Leah, for different ways. Their podcasts I listened to for a long time before I ever found YouTube. Spotify and their social network and platforms are everywhere. Um, I could have a million people talking about me and not even know about it. Yay. Um, all of this was how I learned to be in the chats and the mods. I was so attracted to all the mods, and I wanted to mod. I really did. I was in and out of so many chats, and I wanted to learn how to mod and get in touch with people and be able to do that. I figured it'd be a good thing to practice while I was waiting to, share my story. Andrew Gold, he told me exactly what I needed to do, what equipment I needed, and I didn't have the money. I had no way to get it to be able to tell my story. And then Goldie, I got Goldie got in touch with me and was saying that Apostate Alex was looking for people. And I shared a brief amount of my story in an email. I don't know if Alex ever got that. I don't know whatever happened with that. It was a very beginning stage. SPTV hadn't happened yet. It was just different. It was so different. And I mimicked a lot of things that Goldie did because I saw how connecting it was. And I saw the difference between the JW communities and their mods, the ex-Mormon and ex-Scientology, vastly different in how they all seem to their flows. And it makes sense. They're three different organizations. Of course, how you connect to people is going to be different. Long story short, along the way, nothing ever happened with that. And then all that kind of blew up in weird ways. I'm still making sense of a lot of it. When it did blow up, let me go back. All right. Here I am. We're the Chadathon. Chadathon 1 happened. I was there the entire night. The whole night, listening, watching, sometimes chatting, sometimes just, listening to the quiet while he drew. But it was an experience that I was just up all night. It was just a neat thing to just sit back and watch Clearwater Chad be funny, be simple, and the different things that happened. I could have joined in if I had wanted to go downstairs and get my teeth and put them in. I almost did it without it. Still laugh about that to this day. It was like, missed opportunity. But you know what? I was ready for Chatathon too. I think I had a 4 a.m. slot, and I was rocking. I was getting ready to start my channel. I was gearing up in the chats. I was ready. I was ready to share my story and just join in on all the fun and games that, were starting. I wanted it. I needed it. At least I thought I did. I didn't need it the way it ended up. I can laugh about it all now, but as I go on in the next bit of time, you'll know that I still have feelers. I have a lot of harsh feelers. And I'm not sure if they're warranted because, not to steal a quote, but I was raised in a cult, so I'm not so sure. So here we go. Chatathon 2. I'm ready. Everybody's talking, different creators, about how they're going to help. They're going to help you. And I was excited. And then I had a legal issue that happened that at the time I couldn't say anything about. And I knew if I started my channel, I was going to run my mouth. Bad things would end up happening, and it wouldn't be good in the long run. So I emailed Poe on the Go because this had a legal and law enforcement element. I emailed Claire Headley because I was going to be a witness at something that was really scary and in Denver. And I emailed Denver Stevio because I don't know, I thought he was cool and I was going to bring him Top the Tater. And I figured I was going back and forth for this legal stuff and it'd be a good way. Maybe I sent emails saying, hey, I'm going to be in town. I'd love to see how you do this. I'm struggling. The list goes on. It does. They all should check the junk mail or go back and look at kimd1234 at AOL.com because I have an entire list of people that, for all I'm concerned, dissed me. You're the hypocrite saying you want to help. And I am a second gen on telling my story privately to Marilyn for over an hour and on a little Zoom thingy, whatever. And then to get nowhere and to get nothing. When you have things to offer and things to provide and you want to be a part. Once again, it just left me feeling like, why do I bother? I have nowhere to fit in. I am alone. I don't have a buttload of friends. I don't talk to anyone. I work at a movie theater a couple nights a week with teenagers. My daughter and my grandson now live with me, and this is where we'll go back to the legal thing, which is I have a 570 square foot home that I own 100%. I live an amazing life and have an amazing future. Me sharing my SPTV story with you is just fun. You're going to love it because it's just twists and turns all the way. So here we go. I get a text from my daughter's mother-in-law. These people kept my grandson away from all of us for close to a decade. And so she said that there were issues and there were problems and that we were needed. So I drove through the night with my daughter through a snowstorm to go out there, and we did a well visit check. And 15 minutes after the well visit check, he bolted with the kid, with my grandson, left, gone. Don't know where he is. Denver, Minnesota. Denver, Colorado, which is not a small community. And so ended up, I knew the name. We found out the name of the girlfriend, and supposedly he was with her. Didn't know where she lived, didn't know anything. Knew she was a nurse, the 2 hospitals that she worked at. So I went to the state licensing board and put in the first name with a wildcard number. And I think there were 62 people with that first name. And I scrolled through all of them to find the one that worked at both hospitals. There I had a name. From there, FYI, I did skip tracing before computers. So I've helped 2 people find their birth parents without a computer. So I'm pretty good at what I do. The fun part about all this was it was like healing everything along the way. Me and my daughter were we're brainstorming what to do next. You're in a situation where your child, my grandchild, was no longer safe. And we're at our wits' end. We're staying at my favorite hotel, the Holiday Inn on Lakewood on Hamden. It's got everything. Restaurant, bar, workout center, business center, good rate, easy access to tons of stuff. And so that's where I stay. That's my safe spot. So there we go. So many calls to 911. You're dealing with multiple counties. So once someone moves from one county to another and they don't communicate well, and yeah, I really could have used some guidance. Really could have used some guidance in a lot of this. But I don't have hurt feelers. I don't even have hurt feelers anymore. At the time, I was just reaching out, trying in a new world that doesn't exist anymore. The Mormon support system, even in my head, to process how to solve something as big as this, I didn't have the skills for at the time. Well, I did. I do, because obviously I made it happen. And we did. We went to the school the next day, even though, my older grandson had been there, and the principal recognized my daughter immediately, even though it had been years. And then we found out she had been lied to. She could have had access through the school as far as grades and whatnot. So we got all that set up. And then he was in the parking lot to pick him up early, not in his car. I got scared. I got real scared. I took a picture of all 3 cars in the parking lot before I sat down because I was just terrified. He wasn't told we were there. We discovered he saw us walk in. We weren't looking for him. We parked on the street. We're trying to do everything the best way we could. And then when that episode all rolls out with all the documents and redacted legal stuff, you'll see the fun that went down. So anyways, there we are. Now he's gone. We don't know where. We got a license plate. That's a good start. I could only get so far, and then said, okay, I've tracked this woman as far as I could. So we called private investigator, and he had been in business 7 years, and it had been 7 years since all of this really had started. So I figured he was the guy. Fantastic. He found out where the car was registered to, contacted the owner of the car, and it turned out, long story short, a couple weeks after this guy's mother died, his wife told him about this affair, which turns out to be with my son-in-law. And oh my God, now we've got a couple of different nightmares colliding now. Big bad. Now we've got 2 divorces, 2 stuff dealing with. Because she went to her parents' house. So, and I'm smiling through all this because the end result was my daughter got divorced, and it was on the way to one of those court hearings to drive to Denver, one of the final hearings for the divorce, that I did the chat-a-thon too, in a rest area on my phone, driving. I think I was outside of Duluth. We had just barely started the trip. Driving to Denver. And so I have been a part of this since day one. I was in the chat room when it started. I was there. I've been in the background and tried to be in the foreground, damn it, ever since Chad did that. And then one thing, I got a wrench right away. It was so weird. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. Clearwater Chad gave me a blue wrench. We were the blue wenches. And I've tried to keep up, trying to moderate in some of his chats, but oh man, it's hard. He's kind of like Aaron. He's all over the place. You never know quite when he's going to do anything. And his is satire and a little different, so it's kind of hard to mod. But through Confident Chris, Tony, mainly Tony, is the only person who has helped me, actually helped me. And the funny story about him, I've never had any conversation. The only two people I've ever spoken to have been Marilyn and Cricket, and then a little emails with Brian, because he started the self-publishing, and I'm a writer who quit writing, so we're going to be getting some books going, and it's going to be exciting. And that's part of what SPTV and all of this has done for me, is I've got the strength, the gumption, the, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, to now, I don't know, do something a little bit different. Oh, having a little fun with some lights here. Oh, way washed out. Oh, I don't like that mode. Trying to get it a little softer because it's, there we go. All of this, like I said, I've got an office now. I've got green screen. I have musical instruments. I have everything. It's going to be fun. But back to the story. All right. I guess ZDK is a part of Kelly Copter's musical alter ego kind of thing, which I think has nothing to do with the other, or does. I'm not sure. Zero Dark Tony, in the beginning of my experience here, was basically called Voldemort. It was the name not to be mentioned. There was all kinds of things, and I never even dared, because, you know, remember, good Mormon girl, still indoctrinated, still working on deconstructing. I would never go look at things that other people might deem unnecessary for me. And then I went and looked and discovered a human being that is flawed, is so many things, but I had a connection to, because it reminds me of so many people from small town in high school. I saw him on BYB, saw him on different things, and then I mentioned Operation Underground Railroad, because the stuff with Tim Ballard had been really big in Utah, coming up in the news. And he's like, oh, I did stuff 2 years ago. I'm like, whoa, yay. So I went back and looked at all that content that helped me get connected from a whole different viewpoint on something, because, of course, Mormonism is my cult of choice. Scientology helped me out. You know, the aftermath helped me out of it. Mike Rinder and Leah and all of the people who participated in that changed my life. Right time, right place, whatever. It changed my life and led me to this moment here. It was amazing. And, but I'm active in Tony's chats and active in his stuff, because I have different things that I gain from it. And nobody gets to tell me what I like or don't like. I can be a part of any community and still be trusted, because I'm giving what I give, what I choose to give, where I choose to give it. I don't really trust anybody. And I'm not in this for that. I discovered I am in this for me, to share my life and my story. Because Andrew Gold needed me to buy a fancy frickin' microphone that I still don't have because I can't afford it. So there you go. We got my cheapy little crap, some from Temu, some from God knows where, but it works. And I'm entertaining. So there's that. All of it. The werewolf game, the everything. You know, I was getting ready. I was ready to just start. And they heard me in the lives. It's like, I'm getting ready to do it. I'm getting ready. And then Doug died. And that took the wind out of my sails, because I felt the day I was going to start was then. And it's heartbreaking. every single time I wanted to do something, the Goldie thing, and then there's this, and then there's this, and it was all community related. But it felt inappropriate for me to jump into a community in that type of time of need or time of concern or time of bridging the gap, time of where it just didn't feel right. But then I still felt betrayed once again, even though I wasn't. Kind of like how I said with the people that never contacted me, I have those weird little hurt feelers. But I'm not sure if it's something warrant having hurt feelers over, because I'm still learning. I'm still learning all about this big old world around me. And that's part of why I'm going on the cruise. It's on my list. I want to do it. And I figure it's a perfect place for me to be able to connect and see these people in a way that is real. Because this, for me, is not real. It's hard for me to connect to people in this type of environment. I'm hoping it gets easier. Oh, but right now, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, Brian, I just saw that. Try and keep in mind, yeah, we all squat to poo. Um, Coffee. I'm big on coffee. I like my coffee. And so 9 times out of 10, I can drink coffee. I can. I can sit here, my little mason jar, and I can drink my coffee and feel refreshed and satisfied, and I enjoy the taste and I have about a quarter cup of sugar and maybe a teaspoon of instant coffee, half hot and then half cold water. It's kind of watered down coffee, but it works for me. Doesn't upset my stomach. Little flavoring if I want. Makes me happy. And then there's that 10th time when I am overwhelmed with a fact that doesn't exist. And I'm crying because I'm angry. I don't know how to do anger. I really don't. I shouldn't have to feel this way. It's freaking coffee. The coffee will keep me from living with a God that I don't believe in anymore. How do I reconcile that? Well, 9 times I don't know, cognitive dissonance makes me okay. And that's where I know I'm got a ways to go to be healed, to be, I don't know, to be me. I'm still working on it. When I can drink coffee or ask for a coffee or experience my coffee without this overwhelming emotion that just is. It just, as quickly as it comes, I can get it under control. But it's powerful. It is intense. It can take my breath away. And those are some of the feelings I have when I watch some of the protesters and see, I tried to get in touch with people when I was in Arizona. That's like, at what point do you think it's you? Seriously, guys, at what point do you go, is it me? What did I do wrong? Story of my life. I have to fight for everything. Nothing's handed to me at all. I'm in the fight of my life right now because I'm in the fight for my mind. I'm in the fight for my future. And so my SPTV story, backtrack to, yes, Doug passed, but then Cricket started her channel. Yay, love it. Denny's corner booth. We all know where my room is, my spot. But then she started it, and I'm like, oh my God, then you can't second guess yourself. Okay. Part of my SPTV story only you get to choose what's right for you. You can't let other people and organizations, parasocial or actual organized, to align yourself with. I am a part of this community and I will be having a ton of fun with so many different creators and different things. Now that I'm willing to start, now that I'm willing to share, now that I'm willing to be a part of something and understand what that means in the world, not in cult world, in real world. And yes, the majority of these people, we are dealing with a lot of the same limitations in different ways. We are all learning and growing because I don't believe any of us that are second, third, the people who this is all we've known. It's different. It's just different. And I know my heart goes out when you say the kids can't consent, but at the same time, the parents are the only ones that get to make those choices. I can't be harsh on them for living the life they're choosing to live. I get to be here and help those when they're out, as they're getting out, as they're thinking about it. So I'm going to balance this a little bit with my Mormon story and my life, because the main thing I need to share about the SPTV story is it had a beginning, and I'm in the middle. And that middle is going to keep going on because I am here and I'm willing. And you can't stop me. I'm just one of those people. I am in it for all the right reasons. I have this warped ethical sense of values. I've worked in finance for decades because that ethical sense of values, Sarbanes-Oxley really likes that. You don't get to play loosey-goosey with money around me. It just doesn't work. But I have these amazing things. This is a copy of my church record that was made 4/21/1974. Denver 8th Ward, Denver, Colorado, North Stake. Cam Liberton. 6500 East 80th Avenue. It's got my telephone number. That's so cool. My parents' name, my dad a member, my mother no. Baptism was performed on May 4th at the Brighton Ward, 4 p.m., or Brighton Stake. And then on the 5th, the next day, which is how it used to be done, not sure if they still do it that way, it was at the 8th Ward at noon. My dad performed it, and the story about this is 1974. I was 9 years old. Most people, children, get baptized when they're 8. Now, remember, I'd been a part of this church since I was 2.5. So when January came around and I didn't get called in to talk to the second counselor of primary about my baptism, planning my baptism. And then my birthday came and went. And so in February, I went and talked to my primary teacher and asked when I was going to get baptized. And funny, you don't talk to your parents. It's so culty, all the different things when you don't realize, why wouldn't you talk to your parents? Because my parents can't fix this. My parents can't do anything about this and go to the person who can. And then I find out that because I wasn't born under the covenant, my parents weren't member. My mother wasn't a member, and that I had to wait until I was 9 and have missionary lessons. It was heartbreaking. That was my first heartbreak. Everybody else was baptized when they were 8. All my friends. Not me. No, not me. I have to wait. I have to wait until I'm 9. I am just that special. And then this is the official one. And I'm blessed that my stepmom knows Greg Shorthand. And I'm not as good as, I used to. I'm not that good anymore. But anyways, this is the confirmation that I was given. And these mean a lot to me. I have this. I also have my patriarchal blessing laminated. And that's a whole number story. Belief in that and the consequences of, yeah. And I stayed married to a pedophile, long story short, because of my patriarchal blessing. And no longer married to that person. And so, but anyways, it's Kim Deline Liberton. By the power and authority of the Holy Melchizedek priesthood, I confirm you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I say to you, receive the Holy Ghost. I give you a blessing. I'm sorry. I have one of these amazing memories, and oh my God, hearing these words again, I can hear it. I can feel their hands on my head. I can feel the feeling that I was taught and expected to have. I give you a blessing that the knowledge that you already have may continue throughout your life, and that you will remain faithful to the teachings of the church, and that you will seek out truthfulness and live it. That your parents may support you and provide examples and knowledge and strengthen your testimony with a desire to be married in the temple, that you may gain a testimony, and you will do this regardless of circumstances. Bless you with the ability to be a good example to your brothers and sister, that they can be strengthened by your action and testimony. 9 years old. That's the beginning of everything, good, bad, and indifferent, that I'm trying to escape in my mind. But it's all the core stuff that I have to figure out what's real and what's me and what's them. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Now, what's interesting about this little document is I wasn't baptized, of course, until 74. But this is a receipt for September 23rd, 1973, for 3 cents. And this is my tithing receipt of one of the first times I paid tithing. This acknowledges a voluntary contribution by the donor listed above, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 3 cents. And you're like, what? What 8-year-old? 3 cents. That's 30 cents, right? 10%. Well, my dad, as you discover later, my dad was batshit crazy. It's the only nice way to put it, but I love and admire and respect him because he is. One of my duties and responsibilities was the front yard, and I would have to edge the yard, and I would get paid for doing it. I would get 10 cents a foot to do both sides of the sidewalk and both sides by the street. But it had to be 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch, inch by inch by inch. And I would only get paid for the feet that matched the 1 by 1 by 1. So obviously in the entire front yard, I got 3 feet right and paid my tithing for it. And that began how I felt about money and how I would work hard, and it didn't matter if you worked all day. I got 30 cents and paid 3 of them. As I grew up, It wasn't ever taught to me directly. One of the things in the 70s in the Mormon church, there was a little saying called, with the tie over your shoulder, or gospel according to, and then the person's name. Um, Gospel according to my dad is you don't give anybody, you don't tip any more than 10%. You don't give anybody more than you give the Lord. Period. End of story. And so that imprinted on me. And believe me, friends, family, all growing up as a grown woman, people didn't like to go out with me, which is okay sometimes, but I stood true that I'm not going to give you more than I give the church. I was disfellowshipped a couple times because of drinking coffee, and got put in a 12-step program. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, to be in a 12-step program for coffee. Yeah, weirdness. All of my life is either illegal or just so batshit crazy it doesn't make sense to talk about. But I'm going to be 60, and I don't care anymore. I have an amazing resilience. I won't stop healing and growing and being everything I know I'm meant to be. The things that were thwarted from this belief in this church. So, and then along the way comes graduation of primary. Look at here. Yay. Marston Lake Ward. I actually lived in that ward as an adult. June 26th, 1977. I graduated, and that's when I started going into Young Women's. Young Women's was awesome. That's where I was taught that as long as I waited until after sacrament, I could crochet the rest of sacrament meeting. So I was encouraged to do certain things. Being a young person in the 70s as a whole, the purity culture that I lived under in one family, but having a whole nother family where my mother would do topless sunbathing. And it's different having two polar opposites and being the only one who has to go in between the two worlds. And I did well, didn't do well, it doesn't matter. I'm here. So then when I was 14 years old, I moved to northern Minnesota to live with my mom. Like a lot of teenagers, things that just wasn't going to, being with my dad wasn't going to be a good thing. So I went there and never came back. It was great. I still was active in the church. It was Grand Rapids. I had to drive 40 minutes to church. Local family. I was the only member in my entire school and in my entire town. Back then we had 1,200 people, and my dad and stepmom would be telling me on the phone how Joseph Smith was just barely my age when he saw God and started the church. And now to know that that's not how it went down either. That story didn't come out till years later. It didn't, for one, I was a girl, and 14, being asked way too much. When winter came, my mom wouldn't let me go down the road because it wasn't safe in the winter at that time. Still kind of isn't. So I started going to Nashwauk Lutheran Church because, in my opinion, that's where the cute guys were. And so that leads me to like September of 79. I started going there. December, I'd only been living with my mom for 6 months. I'd kind of stopped going to Mormon church. I was still doing my seminary program through correspondence course because it was too far away for me to go to every morning. And my mom, I came home from school and she was lying on the couch and she had an aneurysm. They didn't have to do surgery, but all her memory, no personal memories. She could walk, talk, drive, do her job, didn't know she was ever married, didn't know anything. So that was my punishment. I believed that was my punishment for not staying active. He said, God took my mom away, took all the memory, took it all gone. No one knew anything about me, all my childhood, all of everything, gone. Anything that made me me didn't matter anymore. I hadn't lived with my mom in 4 years. I'd only seen her once during those 4 years. So I had a lot resting and writing on all of it. And we managed. When I was 16, we went through some counseling together because I was angry about what had happened to her and how it was affecting my life. Which sounds so silly now that, my mom's 78 and my daughter's the same, just a little, practically the same age she was when my mom had the aneurysm. So kind of makes us all reflect. But it wasn't true. God didn't do that to punish me. He didn't. And to not know that until 2020-ish, and that was in 79. I've had a lifetime of believing something wholeheartedly to the point that I allowed it to take things away from me. And that is what I'm saying about my SPTV story is because of all of these other things, I was allowing that to happen again. I was allowing myself to second guess the things I know to be true and the things I know that exist. So, the parallels in life and as they all come wackadoodle full circle in interesting ways. One of the big things is genealogy. And so there's my little 1, 2, 3 generations. I got their name, where they were born. The handwriting on it is just precious. Look at that. Oh, let me go this way. Look at that. That's my little handwriting. Yeah, I was, third grade. And my teacher was out on maternity leave, so we had a sub. And she walked in the door and wrote the word sinister on the board and asked if anybody was left-handed. And I had these big Coke bottle glasses because I was almost legally blind, sat in the front row. And so I raised my hand because normally nobody ever asks about left-handed. And then she went back to discussing the origins of the word sinister and explained about how that left-handed people are evil and that they're, that's why there's the right hand of God and those on the left. It was just wildly inappropriate if you think about it, but in the 70s, not so much. And then she proceeded to take a flour sack towel and tie my left hand behind my back to the desk. And I sat that way for 6.5 weeks and was untied to go to recess and lunch and home. None of my class. I can't imagine. What would you say? I can't imagine somebody going home and, I don't know how they felt about it. I was already the weird Mormon girl that read scriptures, But those are the type of things that really, they imprint on you, especially as a child, that there's something wrong with you, and it has a word. You're evil. You're less than. Less than. I'm not less than. I'm something in a category all by myself. And I'm beginning to quite like that space that I'm creating for me. And for those of you that don't, that just, bring in a couple of comments back that, with Doug Kramer's channel, he always talked about how instant. He got the book from a friend, gone. This is a cult, boom. I didn't have that. It took me a long time. But what I began to see in his channel was, his journey like mine with HD Tutor and Narcissus, all different kinds of things that I learned from his channel. For those that were lucky enough to know in a minute that is false and begin to rebuild your life, more power to you. I'm so grateful for you guys because you're the ones that helped me see it's okay that it took me longer. I got there. I used to be kind of jealous of those that had that happen, but everybody's journey is a little different, and that's what makes all of us unique, special, one of a kind. So, let's see. I'm getting close to a little bit of the end. Oh, here we go. There's a little poem. I just kind of, I'm going to pop down real quick. The biggest thing of this is just to kind of say I'm here. I'm doing things, and I have a lot of episodes planned out, mapped out, where I've got a theme and I've got a subject, and getting into the office and doing this is kind of scary in a little bit for me because it could be so powerful and addicting to be able to have a voice and an avenue to use it and share it. I just want to make it entertaining and fun while I do it. So I like to have things to show you, and I'll learn how to load it all up into StreamYard, YouTube, wherever I end up. Or if I just keep using YouTube Studio, it's all good. I was actually excommunicated. At the time, I wasn't married to my third husband. We were living together. And I went into my bishop, and because I'd moved into the ward, and they decided to excommunicate me for living with him because they said, what would your daughter think learning about chastity, knowing you're living with, your boyfriend? And I just said, you obviously didn't look at our records because she was molested by her stepfather, and you only disfellowshipped him. So she's already wondering why we're even here. There's that. But still, I went through all that. I went through the excommunication, and I worked my way back to become baptized again and be full member. And this is my confirmation, also by my father, because he came out and baptized me. September 24th, 2011. Confirmation of Kim Deline High by her father, James Kenneth Liberton. In the circle, James Kenneth Liberton, Jason Kirk Liberton, and Scott Nelson. Confirm you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ and say, receive the Holy Ghost. I give you a blessing. We encourage you to use what you have learned as a youth and use your life experiences that you have had for good to strengthen yourself and influence those around you. Through your children and grandchildren, good things will be accomplished as you continue to seek God by keeping his commandments. I'm currently a member of record. I've been asked to have my name removed. I'm not excommunicated. I still get the emails. I still get requests. I still get all kinds of stuff. My sister kind of had to remind me, if the stake president's calling you, they must be scraping the bottom of the barrel for attendance. Kind of got a point there, sis. It's tough. Breaking free, it's difficult trying to establish. So I'm getting closer to wrapping up a little bit of this, but what I want to do is no, and my daughter actually got baptized on her 8th birthday. And I don't quite understand how that happened, because I was a member, but her father wasn't. So why didn't she wait? They changed the rules? Confusion. You see my face? Confusion. Okay. This is one of the last talks I ever gave. And it was funny. I was looking through something and then I found it and it was like all yellow goldenrod. And I think, oh, that's kind of funny. So here it is. This is the thought processes and the words of someone I used to be. And I'm trying to figure out how to make these people be me. So here we go. All right. Today I would like to share with you my thoughts on fellowship. Now I'd like to start by having everyone stand up. Oh, keep in mind, this is not a normal thing to do for a Mormon talk. Now take a look around. The back, the sides, the front. Look for the unfamiliar face. Look for a familiar one. Say hello. Shake hands with someone near you. Wave at someone further away from you. Thank you. Now be seated. The definition of fellowship is friendship, a community of interest or feeling, a group with a common interest or purpose. When you look around, you probably notice that we are all different shapes, sizes, colors, sexes, ages. One might think that such a vast combination of people could have nothing in common, but we do. We all share a common bond in the gospel. As human beings, we have a tendency to be self-centered and think more of ourselves than other people or even God. At times, we forget the 2 great commandments: to love God with all our hearts and to love our neighbors as ourselves. In order to become more like God, we must love our fellow men. I'd like to read from John 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. As I have loved you, love one another. And Moroni 7:48 reads, Whereas, my beloved brethren, pray unto the Father with all the energy of the heart, that ye may be filled with love, which he hath bestowed upon all who are true followers of his Son, Jesus Christ, that ye may become sons of God, that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is, that we may have this hope, that we may be purified, even as he is pure. In order for us to become as pure as our Heavenly Father, we must learn to truly love each other. Though we are gathered here today in fellowship of the gospel, at times we must take the extra steps and efforts to bind our lives together through service, prayer, and love. I sympathize and understand that most of us are already busy with our own families, careers, and concerns. But all it takes is one small act of kindness. A little postcard, phone call to say hello, or simply a smile to a newcomer or a visitor to let them know we care about them as people. In our neighborhoods, our communities, and all associations, let us remember that we are to live the ideals of Jesus so that our lives will represent a lighthouse on the hill, inviting all men to come into Christ. Many of us fall short of those ideals. Many of us are striving to better our fellowship skills. Some are natural born fellowshippers. In mutual, I think we were the most talkative ones. But no matter what category you fall into, remember there's a special purpose and a plan to everything. At times, you will be the one to give fellowship, and other times, receive it from someone else. Here are portions of a book by Walter Rinder called Spectrum of Love. These words tend to touch my heart and remind me how freely Jesus gives his love to us, and how we should strive to be more like him. There is a much greater motivation than simply my spoken words. For me, to love is to commit myself freely and without reservation. I am sincerely interested in your happiness and well-being. Whatever your needs are, I will try to fulfill them. If you are lonely and need me, I will be there. If in that loneliness you need to talk, I will listen. If you need to listen, I will talk. If you need the strength of human touch, I will touch you. I will try to be constant with you so that you will understand the core of my personality. And from that understanding, you can gain strength and security. I will try to build up within you a faith in my fundamental attitude and show you any inconsistencies are only for a moment and not a lasting part of me. I will show you love now, each and every day, for each day is a lifetime. Every day we live, we learn more how to love. I will not defer my love nor neglect it, for if I wait until tomorrow, tomorrow never comes. If I give you kindness and understanding, then I will receive your faith. If I give hate and dishonesty, I will receive your distrust. If I give you fear and I am afraid, you will become afraid and fear me too. I will give you as much love as I can. If you show me how to give more, then I will give more. I can only give you as much as you need to receive or allow me to give. If you receive all I can give, then my love is endless and fulfilled. If you receive a portion of my love, then I will give to others the balance I am capable of giving. I must give all I have, being what I am. Love is universal. Love is the movement of life. I want to become a truly loving spirit. I would like to leave you with a short poem that I found in a military service prayer book. It's by John Fawcett. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above. Before our Father's throne, we pour our ardent prayers. Our fears, our hopes, our aims are one, our comforts and our cares. We share our mutual woes, our mutual burdens bear, and often for each other flows the sympathetic tear. When here our pathways part, we suffer bitter pain, and yet one in Christ and one in heart, we hope to meet again. This glorious hope revives our courage by the way, while in each expectation lives and longs to see the day. From the sorrow, toil, and pain, and sin we shall be free, and perfect love and friendship will reign through all eternity. Leave you with this message in hopes that each of you will remember the greatest commandment is to love God with all our hearts and to love our neighbors as ourselves. I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. That still encompasses me. it the feeling, the experience, the trying to figure out if I'm what I'm meant to serve and how to serve, because I like being of service. I like how it makes me feel. I like what I do for other people. It's, but where do you stop? Where are the boundaries? Where do you set the boundaries? I'm learning. I'm figuring it out. Right now, I have a place and a time to explore it. I did with the green screen, it's going to be fun. I got plenty of room to dance, plenty of room to do all kinds of stuff. I am going to cut this one a little short right now, hour and 15 minutes. Coming back a little later, I've got a couple special treats. I promised a good friend when I started the lives, I was going to make my homemade butter. So I've got my heavy whipping cream in a mason jar here at the office. So now that I've played around a little with this, we're going to change up a few things, see how I can make things a little more comfortable for everybody. And I want to thank you for letting me express the hard feelers, because I believe those hard feelers that I was feeling, they're just there. There's something to explore. That they're different. They're not bad feelings. They're just hard for me. They're just hard. So here we go with this little breakaway into everything. Now it's giving a little bit of all of my people in all three of my amazing communities, the XMO, the X Scientology, and XJW. For those of you within all of the communities, as well as family, friends, neighbors, and anyone in the world. This is my beginning. Thank you for being here through this past year. I relish the joys and successes of all of the content creators that have come out of SPTV and have been monetized and are working towards all of their goals. Monetization is important to me. I need subscribers. I think I got 80. Help me, help you. I'm here. Now that you know I'm not as, I don't know, I can tone myself down. How's that? I don't know. I'm just me. I don't know what to be or do or feel most of the time. I sleep about 2.5 to 5 hours a day. It's the equivalent of 2 long naps. I don't need caffeine. I don't need any other sleep. I'm awake all the time. So I get a lot done. Thank you for being here with me, and like, subscribe, share. Most of all, put some comments on there. Let me know, hey, saw this. Hey, give me some constructive criticism. I'm all game. I was raised in a high demand religion, and the only thing that is critical of me is me. I'm my own worst enemy and my own best help. So I wish you a great day. I'm going to leave you with my quote. Every day. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Every breath. It's another chance and another choice. What's next? Kim D. High. You have a good one, and we will see you soon.